Well, hi there. We are live, or will be shortly. You are joining us for Second Helpings and our COVID-19 update. So we will be with you shortly as we continue to let everybody have a chance to come in and join us. So thank you for being with us today. And please, 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 if you have any questions or any comments, please post them to the comment box. Also, if you're joining us, please make a note. And thank you, Holly, for joining us. Please make a note and say hi so we know you're here. So thanks for being here. It is 5 o'clock and welcome. My name is Jennifer Vigran. I am the CEO of Second Helpings, and welcome to my home. Welcome to my kitchen. It seems like these days just about we see a lot of videos and meetings coming from people's kitchens. So here we are in mine. We are doing a Facebook Live update for our Second Helping supporters. I know we're going to have volunteers join us and all sorts of people who will be with us today. Thank you all for joining us. So, just a little bit of update. Again, please post hello in the comments box so we know you're here. Questions are welcomed and encouraged, because part of why we're doing this today is to make sure everybody gets their questions answered, or as best we can answer anybody's questions right now in these uncertain times. It has been a month since we last did an update with you from Second Helpings, and what could change in a month? Boy, an awful lot can change in a month. And no time have we all experienced that more than we experience it now. I hope that this finds you all healthy, and we're really grateful that you've taken time out of your day. And if you're here in Indianapolis this beautiful weekend, to join us. So thank you for being with us. It's great to see so many volunteers joining us. Lou Mumford, thank you for joining us and being with us today. Joanna, thank you for being with us. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. I want to start, first of all, because I know many of you were supporters of Corks and Forks, and people who come to Corks and Forks each year. Of course, we had to cancel Corks and Forks as a live event this year, and so many of you joined us virtually, either on Facebook and in the auction. And I have to say, when we went down this path, none of us knew what to expect. We didn't know if people were going to bid. We didn't know whether this was going to be successful at all. And it was extraordinary, because one of the things that we saw is that so many of you were incredibly generous for this event. We saw people bidding on items far exceeding their actual value. My favorite is, I think I saw one gift card go for 2.5 times its value. And that meant that you saw Corks and Forks as an opportunity to give, not just an opportunity to shop. And we were really heartened by that, as were the people who donated those items. Some of them were gift cards for restaurants, and you know how very much restaurants and the entire hospitality industry has been struggling over these last weeks and months. And for them to hear that not only did you buy their gift cards, but you paid a premium for them, really meant a great deal, because it meant that their donation and that something that could be truly a sacrifice for them at this time was really going to make a big difference for Second Helpings and for our entire community. So thank you for participating in Corks and Forks this year. I want to give you an update. Let's start by talking about our operations and all of the things that have changed. One of the things, of course, we hear a lot about in the news is the food supply, and how the food supply is changing each day. And I want to talk about what that means at Second Helpings. So for us, the food supply, as many of you who are kitchen volunteers know, we love the prepared food that usually comes into Second Helpings from restaurants and caterers. And each day, our volunteers and staff would go to They go to the convention center, they go to big hotels like the JW Marriott and the Marriott Downtown, and so many other restaurants and caterers, and pick up food that had been prepared but not served to the public. If it was a big convention that was in town, chances are that there was food at the convention center or there was food at the JW Marriott that had been prepared for a major event but never served. So that meant all of this food came into Second Helpings. We could very quickly turn that around and send that out as the basis for lots of prepared meals that went out into the community. It's no surprise to any of you, I'm sure, that food supply is right now gone, that we aren't getting those prepared foods because there aren't big events going on in town anymore. So that has been a challenge for our hunger relief staff and for Second Helpings, because that was a very easy product for us to work with. So that was gone. At the same time, as it's probably not much of a surprise that we're finding the food supply is erratic. It's not that we're experiencing that we can't get the food. It's just that usually we would be able to know that each day there would be this much protein coming in and this much vegetables coming in and this much prepared food and dairy. There's a very steady, reliable food supply that Second Helpings always had. That's not happening today. What we see instead is a situation where one day there will be several pallets of eggs, and the next day it'll be other proteins and cheese or broccoli, and it comes in starts and fits. So what we are finding is we've needed to change how we manage inventory. Not knowing each day what's going to come in the next day, we're managing inventories a lot more carefully, storing a few extra days worth of food so that we have the supplies to cook with and to provide those meals into the community. So that's been an interesting adjustment for us as we have moved forward. And of course, there are some things that we just have to buy because they are not available in our regular quantities. We are very much looking forward to many of our regular food donors coming back online or being able to supply Second Helpings in much larger quantities than they have been able to these last few days and weeks, I should say. It is great to see so many of our volunteers online today and chatting with each other. I see, we miss you. Each day, our volunteers provide not just so much of the labor that goes into the work that we do at Second Helpings, but they keep us all going. And they are an inspiration for so many of us. So we do miss you all very much. It is truly not the same without having this vibrant community of 50 to 100 people in the building each day. It's truly different, and we miss having everybody with us. So that's where we are on food supply. Yes, we do have to buy some food items because they aren't coming in the quantities we're accustomed to. We are managing our inventories as best we can. And anything we don't use, of course, we share with pantries and other partner agencies like Wheeler Mission to make sure that they have what they need. So there's still as you can imagine, when 2 pallets of eggs come in, we're not going to necessarily use all those eggs. We're going to share them with the pantries. We're going to share them with other organizations to make sure that people throughout our community are fed. So let's talk a little bit about the demand. But before I do that, I have to say, when we talk about that food supply, I have to give a big thank you to the suppliers, because so many of them have gone out of their way to make sure that Second Helpings has what we need. So I want to thank each of them for helping us throughout a very difficult time. There's no question, the demand has increased significantly. It caught us very quickly, and it caught us very fast. We went from finding organizations that we served every day were closing because they couldn't operate their programs during the stay-at-home order or while school was closed, to almost overnight dozens of agencies, many of which we'd never worked before, had needs that we needed to address. So today I can tell you that more than 50,000 meals a week are being provided by Second Helpings. That's twice what we were doing before COVID-19. And it's also a particular challenge because not only is it twice as much food, but we're trying to do this with the challenges of the food supply and with social distancing. If you're familiar with our kitchens and if you're familiar with our facility, it's not very big for what we do each day. And usually our volunteers will tell you they're in that kitchen elbow to elbow. And obviously in this era, we can't be elbow to elbow anymore. So we've done our best to use every square foot of the building as best we can and space people out so that we are operating as safely as we can be, and also with masks. So it is a different way of doing business, but I'm pleased to say that we have been able to keep everybody as safe as possible and help to make sure that there is no spread of COVID-19 within Second Helpings. So when we talk about those 50,000 meals, where are they going? Who are these new organizations that we're serving? Many of them are going to children and families. If you think about the schools and indie parks who are normally partners of ours during the year, they're providing food to children who are 18 and under. And Second Helpings is coming in right alongside them. And because they can only serve the children, we're coming in and serving the rest of the family. So when those families come to those indie park sites, they get sandwiches for the other family members who are there, but also a good, nutritious meal that they can take home and share that evening. I can't imagine a time when it's more important for families to be able to sit down and share a meal together than it is right now. So I'm very, very grateful that we have been able to serve these families as they have needed it. And the feedback that we've gotten has been extraordinary. The families have told us things like they're getting more vegetables than they ever normally eat, and how pleased they are to see that the meals that they're getting have so much protein in them. So I'm grateful to all of our partners who have helped make that happen. So we're serving children and families as we always do, but in different ways. We're serving a lot more seniors and people seniors who are in senior housing and low-income housing for disabled adults, and that is, of course, a group that is particularly important to make sure we're watching out for during this time. Seniors who are feeling very, very isolated and don't have family support or caregiver support, and the opportunity to access other food resources. Second Helpings is coming in and providing meals to those seniors to make sure that they have what they need and they're getting good, nutritious food. I often talk about what a Second Helpings meal looks like and think about it as healthy comfort food. And that's really what we're all doing to help those seniors around our community. I have to say, it's great to see one of our founders joining us, Jean Payson. Thank you to you and to all of our founders for making it possible for us to be here today. I certainly couldn't imagine how we have, as an organization, have progressed over the years. And thank you for the vision that got us to the point where we could serve our community and step up in the way we are today. So one of the interesting challenges we're finding with seniors and some of those senior housing is, of course, you can imagine there's a real concern amongst the staff of those buildings to ensure that they're not putting those seniors at risk. And what we are finding is that in many instances, we now have a very narrow opportunity to come in and bring those meals to those organizations. In the early weeks, we could come in each day, drop off meals, and come back the next day. But we're finding actually now that in some buildings, we need to come in once a week. Sometimes it's even 1 hour a week where we can get in and bring those meals. So that means we're not just providing 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day, we're actually providing an entire week's worth of food for those seniors and delivering it all at once. And that has been an interesting challenge to make sure that we can provide them with all the food they need and the variety they need, and also address limitations that they may have with refrigeration. And we're going to talk about how we've addressed that in just a moment. So Among the other populations that are really being served by second helpings right now, people with compromised immune systems, much like the seniors who are very vulnerable right now, or especially vulnerable right now, and we need to make sure that they're getting food without taking major risks to their long-term health. And homeless veterans. This is we're serving a lot of people who are homeless right now. As we all know, there are a lot of people who are out of work at the moment and really struggling. And so we are grateful to be partnering with so many organizations, with the City of Indianapolis, with Horizon House, the Poor House, of course, Wheeler Mission and Julian Center, and so many others, as well as outreach and the Indiana Youth Group, to make sure that teens and adults and families who are homeless are getting the support that they need through this time. We've also expanded our geography a little bit. We're now serving Morgan County and helping families in Martinsville and in Eminence, and also going further north into Sheridan, Indiana, and providing meals there. As I said earlier, this is an enormous demand that we are seeing, and we are working far beyond the capacity of our organization, especially with social distancing. And that means we had to reach out and find some partners to help us with that. And I'm very grateful to our satellite kitchen partners who have stepped up and are working at cost to help provide meals into the community. That's organizations like SOMS, Nesso, which is part of the Cunningham Restaurant Group, Side Street Catering, and Newfields. Yes, that's Newfields, the art museum. They are using their catering kitchen and helping to provide meals with second helpings as well. So without those partners, we would not be able to step up to this level. So they have really made it possible for us to do more than we had ever imagined we could do, and more than we have the capacity to do all by ourselves. So one of the challenges has been, as we have been through these 8 weeks or so of COVID-19, and one of the challenges has been, what about the people who can't get to food pantries? What about the people who can't get to a meal site, who may be seniors but who don't live in one of these communities that we're serving? What about those individual families who are left without support and without help? And I'm really pleased to be able to share with you that we are now partnering with the Indie Hunger Network, with Gleaners Food Bank, and with an organization called 913 Sports. And together we are addressing the problem of how do you help individual households, something we've never really been able to do before. We've always partnered with other organizations who they were the ones who were addressing the needs of specific households. But we're finding there are households that aren't attached to or served by organizations or connected to them in some way that really need support during COVID-19. Think about seniors who are living alone and have limited mobility or disabilities. We've seen disabled vets, a lot of people who really are needing more support right now. And through that partnership, we now have a phone number, and I'm going to share it with you. That number is 317, I'm typing it in right now, 317-742-9111. That is the phone number for home delivery. This is not home delivery for anybody who wants it. This is home delivery for people who need it. This is home delivery for households that can't get to other food resources. And what will happen is when somebody calls that number, they will get a member of the Indie Hunger Network staff on the phone. And they'll walk through what their needs are with them, how many people are in the household, how much refrigeration do they have, can they cook for themselves, and assess whether or not that family is best served by a pantry box or whether they really need prepared meals and can't really cook for themselves. So the Indian Hunger Network staff are making that assessment, and then this wonderful organization called 913 Sports that in normal times has nothing to do with food, has stepped up, and they're providing their staff and their fleet to help us get those meals or the pantry boxes delivered to individual households each day. So we know that that's having a huge impact on a very individualized basis. We know that it's serving people who are in motel units and may not have the ability to cook. And we'll talk a little bit about how they're addressing that. But it's also serving, we've heard some incredible stories, seniors who don't have mobility, don't have access to food, some of them trying to care for grandchildren and great-grandchildren at the very same time. So we are grateful that with that partnership, we're able to make sure that those households are getting a good second helpings meal, or meals, actually an entire week's worth of second helpings meals, that they can share and make sure that they are cared for and that they have the support they need. But what about those people who are in motel units or have limited refrigeration? What about them? So we're really grateful to the Department of Homeland Security because they have provided second helpings with shelf-stable meals, good, solid, nutritious entree. They happen to be low sodium, as a matter of fact, as well as some other items that are available so that we can deliver those shelf-stable meals as well as second helpings meals in whatever quantity we need to make sure that if a household doesn't have adequate refrigeration, they still can get the nutrition they need and they still have a good supply of shelf-stable meals that they can call upon. So that has been an extraordinary partnership, and it's yet another example how during this crisis we have leveraged those partnerships to do even more for the community than we ever knew we could. And I'm so pleased to see each day that those meals are going out and being delivered to households in need throughout our community. So moving forward, there will be more challenges. We all know that each stage of this epidemic presents new challenges as we try to address it throughout the community. That is no different at Second Helpings. We're going to have to figure out how to continue to sustain this higher level of distribution, providing so many more meals into the community than we do now. We have to figure out how to keep that going. And that's particularly going to be a challenge as more of the organizations that closed when COVID-19 came along start to come back online. So we're going to see some of those partners that we haven't seen for a while needing food as well. John, I'm going to stop now. John just asked where he can donate. John, you can donate at the Second Helpings website. That's www.secondhelpings.org. Somebody, Stacia, I see already posted that for you. So please, yes, your gifts are really important and really welcome. I can't think of a time that they've been so critical, not just for Second Helpings, but for our entire community. So we've got to figure out how to continue this higher level of distribution when those agencies reopen. As you may know, the National Guard has been with us now for several weeks. They're really supplementing the staff. They're in the building each day and helping us to get meals out into the community. But their deployment is scheduled to end May 31st. So we're going to need to be able to adjust as that happens. We're going to be addressing questions like what happens when we bring our staff back together. So our staff is currently operating on 2 different shifts to make sure we minimize the possibility of infection. And eventually we're going to need to bring that staff back together. And when we do that, we're going to need to make sure that we are social distancing as a staff, as well as with our volunteers. So as many of you know, those volunteers we're really crowded in the building on a normal day. And we have to figure out how many volunteers we're going to be able to accommodate on any given day with social distancing. So that's a new challenge, one that we never imagined. And we're going to keep trying to figure out how to best do that and make sure that everyone is as safe as possible. Heather asked, how long do we think we're going to have to continue this higher level of distribution? It's a really interesting question, one I ask almost every day. Certainly some organizations we're going to see that we expect eventually to see some of that come down as more and more people get back to work. But we also know that there has been a major there has been, will continue to be a major economic impact, that not all of these businesses are going to reopen, and that not everybody's going to be able to come back to work. So we expect that we're going to see a higher level of demand for a very long time. I don't know how long we're going to be able to do everything that we do right now, but we are certainly going to continue to do our best and are constantly looking for ways that we can stretch the available dollars even further to make sure that we never have to say no. And I'm very pleased to say we haven't had to say no to anyone yet who needed our help. Certainly, we never want to have to be in that situation. So the question is, Matt gave us a question. When are we planning on allowing for new volunteers and volunteer groups to come back in? That is a big question. We have so many regular volunteers who I know will want to come back and are starting. Some of them have started coming back, and we will be very carefully looking at how many people can be in the kitchen at once, looking at how many people can be working in other parts of the building at the same time, as well as changing a little bit about how we do deliveries, because many of you are doubled up. Many of our delivery drivers, not only is their driver, but there's a companion. We're doing some of that still with companions because many of them are actually married couples, so that makes it pretty easy. But that is going to be a challenge. We're going to have to figure out when we can and how we can continue to engage more volunteers in the work. I think it's going to be a while before we're going to see many corporate volunteer groups that we've had in the past coming back, simply because we do have to be really, really careful about capacity and about how we pack people into the kitchen, because we just can't do that anymore. So that's going to be one of the last things that will come back. Will be chances are the one-time volunteer groups, many of them corporate groups who come in. They will probably be one of the last programs that we bring back on, as it is safe to do so, because in the end, it's all about making sure we and our volunteers and everyone who's involved in second helpings is operating as safe as possible. So we will, for those of you who are regular volunteers, we will be sharing more information with you as we figure this out. Of course, the governor just announced Friday afternoon a framework for bringing businesses and other programs back online over time. And we're going to be working with that framework and looking critically at our own operations to figure out how many people we can bring back at once. So if you are one of our regular volunteers, please keep watching. We'll send you some information in the next week or two about us. We'll have some Zoom volunteer meetings to not only share that information, but also so we can see each other, because we do miss you very much. So, of course, the other thing is our culinary job training program. And we had to suspend that program in March to make sure that we could operate safely. And we look forward to bringing that program back online. I cannot tell you now when that's going to be, but that will be one of the factors we'll be looking at as well, is not only when can we bring the culinary job training program back, but also how many students can we engage in that program at once, because again, we want to make sure we're operating that program and that kitchen as safely as possible. And also, I have to say right now, we're using that kitchen capacity for the hunger relief program. So we need to make sure everything, we have to figure out all of these puzzle pieces together. It is truly a puzzle, and we'll be working on that over the next few weeks. I have some things before we end today. I have a few things I'd like to share with you. One is Tuesday, as you may or may not know, it has been designated globally as Givingtuesday now, hashtag Givingtuesday now. It is a global initiative to support organizations and not-for-profits like Second Helpings at a time when the need is so extraordinary and so great. So we hope that you will join us on Tuesday for Giving Tuesday now, because this is an unprecedented level of need. And just as we need to heal together as a community, we need to reach out and help as a community. This is also an opportunity to give together as a community. Some special things going on that day. Chef Kathy, our executive chef, as you may or may not know, has been doing a series of videos every Tuesday and Thursday on Facebook Live. She has been teaching classes on how to make various items, things that you might need to make pantry. I know there was a lasagna class, pantry item that she's done fish. I think there might have even been a cocktail class the other day. But on Tuesday, it happens to be Cinco de Mayo, so she's going to offer some Mexican dishes as well. And I hope you will join her for that class or any of the other classes that she has done on Facebook Live. So I also want to encourage you on Tuesday. One of the other things we'll be doing is showing our spirit. So if you have a favorite Second Helpings t-shirt, as I know most of our volunteers do, please post a picture of yourself wearing that t-shirt, share it on social media, and tell everyone what Second Helpings means to you, why you volunteer, why you donate, why you support this organization. This is a sort of a spirit day together, even though we can't be together. Share what you do to support Second Helpings. Do you volunteer? Are you a financial donor? Have you been making masks? The masks that our volunteers, one with me, masks that our volunteers have been giving us have been great and really, really important. So appreciated by every member of our staff, volunteers, and the National Guard troops who are with us are all wearing your masks. So thank you for that. Keep them coming. We can still use more, and we truly do appreciate them. So what can you do? Make a gift, make a financial donation, join us for Giving Tuesday now, make masks and send those to Second Helpings if you can. Share the message. So much about the success of Second Helpings over the years has been people sharing our message with others. I've often said one of the most important things you can do for Second Helpings is introduce someone else to the organization. And even if you're doing that virtually, it can have a great impact. So thank you for taking that time on Tuesday to be with us, as well as to share the message with people throughout the community. If you have any other questions, I've been trying to ask questions as we go. I see Stacia has posted the donate page as well. Thank you. I've seen wonderful notes here from so many volunteers and our staff. We do miss you and we appreciate you so much for all the ways that you step up and support this organization. And as we figure out what the new world is going to look like for a while, we will keep you posted as best we can. So thank you all for your time today. Be safe, be well, and take care of yourself, but take care of your neighbors as well. This is a time when neighbors taking care of neighbors is so very important. Thank you for all that you do for Second Helping and for people throughout Central Indiana. Have a good evening.